Hiya, welcome to Pickler the Podcast. We are your co-hosts, Stacie Townsend and John, the People's Champ Davison. Sometimes we are right off the court to right on the mic, John. Today I got to play a little pickleball this morning, and I know you literally just rolled right off the court onto the mic here. So no better way to start a pickleball podcast, I guess, after hitting the courts. Am I right?
That's right. I'm happy to hear that you're playing a little bit again because you
That's
were on
right.
quite the hiatus.
I know. Don't call it a comeback.
Who'd you play with? The Waters?
I did a little drill session with the Waters this morning. Got smoked by Annalie Waters in singles, but you heard it here. I got a couple points for but that's about it. And she might have just been being nice to me. But
hey, that is better than a lot of people can do is get a few points on AL and singles. I don't know if I'd get a few.
well, she'll listen to this, and the next time we play, she'll make sure that's a big goose egg in my column. So don't worry
Right.
about it.
So what was the score? 11-2?
I think it might have been 3, but that'd probably be a personal best against Annalie. She is so good, just makes me look silly. And I'm quite tall. I'm 5'10", so you think I'd be able to cover some of the court? Nope, she carves me right up. So
Yeah, she can find all the holes on the court for sure.
So what about you? How was your session? What's been going on with you? We haven't talked in a while.
So just been we've been drilling a lot, Olivia and I, and she knows how much I hate drilling. I just hate it. I don't know. I think it's a tennis thing. Tennis players just love drilling. And so now in pickleball, like everybody drills at the top. And I guess you have to do that to be good. But I am just too ADHD for it. I'm just bored after like 20 minutes. I'm like, all right, when can we play games? Like, when can we play games? But I did beat Olivia in singles, so that made me feel better. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I know. I have to hold on to that, She hasn't played singles in forever, after her knee surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So she's playing at New York City. So I was like, all right, we have to play some singles. And I beat her in a best 2 out of 3. But it was super windy. Our courts in Jarbo Park, in Neptune Beach, they installed these brand new courts. Mind you, we're like 5 streets from the beach. They didn't budget for windscreens. So you have like 20-mile-an-hour winds all the time with no windscreens. It is infuriating. So it's like on either side, the ball can just like say you just can't even touch it or it goes over the fence. Or you can't even make the ball over the net just because like it's just terrible. So hopefully they get some windscreens. But
I think it was Andrea Coop that said pickleball in the wind like that is her version of hell. So I can imagine.
One, I hate drilling. And 2, it's like in like this 20-mile-an-hour wind the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just brutal.
So is it helping your game drilling? I know a lot of the pros are saying they drill 80% or more of the time now. So what do you think?
I'm sure it helps my game. Clearly, it didn't help my game too much for U.S. Open, but I just like playing. I was telling Olivia this after. I was like, I just miss the days where we would like get like 4 to 8, like of our best guys, and Olivia around town, and just like grind games out. Like I love that. Like 3-4 hours. I don't know. I like rec play more than drilling.
Don't we all? I think most people are in that camp.
Yeah, drilling sucks. I feel like a lot of the pros, that are traveling and playing games every weekend, they don't need to play rec games, right? So it's like, then you have people like me that play like 5 tournaments a year, 6 tournaments a year, and I don't know. I just want to play games. Because then when I get into like the game matches, like we played Matt Wright. Well, so we at U.S. Open we played Mark Renison first to even get in the draw because they qualified me as an amateur, which is some BS. But we did pretty well against them, and then of course we came out of the qualifying bracket, so we got like one of the best teams. We got Matt and Lucy, and I was just not sharp. It's like I haven't played fast games ever, like in months. So then when you play like Matt and Lucy right off the bat, Matt was just so good at like speeding up, and my hands just were not there. So he picked me apart. Like I won a couple hands battles early, and then after he figured that out, I was done.
You were feeling it for a quick second there.
Yeah, well, and then I think they got up in the first game like, I don't know, 7-2 or something, and I was like, F this. I'm just gonna like serve hard, and I made them miss 3 returns in a row. So that made me feel good. So I think we lost like 5-4 or something like that. But it's all good.
Is that your first time playing them?
That was my first time playing them. And then get this, we were up 10-2 over Wes Gabrielson and Alex Hamner.
What happened there?
We lost 15-11.
Oh,
It
no.
was so bad. Olivia and I didn't talk to each other for like an hour. So the one thing that like we say we give each other one tournament a year, it's quickly going to 0 tournaments a year. Because like we were up 11-2 or 10-2, and we had a middle ball, and Olivia's lefty, she likes a middle, and I'm like, whatever. So we both like go for it, and we both like swing and miss.
Oh,
and
no.
They like just after that, like we were done. They rattled like just 14 straight points, basically 13 straight points.
Did you call a timeout? Did you do anything different?
We used both our timeouts. So it didn't work.
At least you tried to stop the bleeding.
Oh, it was terrible. It was so. I mean, Wes and Alex like stepped up a little bit more. Wes took up a little more court, and he does some funky stuff, but nothing that we should not have allowed 13 straight points. So that was a bummer. But
did you get to redeem yourself at all with another event at the U.S. Open?
Nope, that was my one and only. So I'm winless at the 2022 U.S. Open.
Well, you won one game in the play-in.
Oh, that's true. I don't think it was an official game though, so it didn't hit my Duper account, which is some BS. I'm gonna have to message Duper and ask for them to put that game in.
Yeah, it looks like you might be in the play-in draw again next year.
Probably. if I don't like keep playing tournaments, I'll probably get put in the amateur qualifier.
So should we talk about what else went down at the U.S. Open? I know it's been all over the channels, but it might be good to get our take on it.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff that went down the U.S. Open. I will say that I don't even know where to start. Honestly, you tell me where we should start.
Well, I did not go to the U.S. Open, so I wasn't there firsthand. But the paddle drama was quite interesting. Where the carbon paddles, which are pretty hot lately, a lot of people are playing with them and buying them because some good qualities about them. Mid-tournament banned as a approved paddle under the USA Pickleball, which means they were not permitted to be played with during the tournament. I guess there was a random test, which USA Pickleball does on the paddle, and it failed, and they pulled them. And then there's maybe some other talk calling out other paddles that should also be banned, which was quite entertaining over the past couple of weeks. But what did you see on the ground over there? What were you hearing?
Well, it kind of like came out of nowhere. I remember it was I think on the Wednesday, I think that Olivia and I had to do the qualifier, and the ref was like, just letting you guys know, like, does anybody have a carbon paddle? And I'm like, what? And like, yeah, it's no longer allowed. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah, it like USA Pickleball just failed it. So we found that actually like before our match started, like right before. And the ref was telling us that they've had to like tell pros and amateurs, I think, that like they just can't play with their paddle. And they're like, what do you mean I can't play with my paddle? So it's like that's one thing where it's like there was no communication really. It was just like pulled off the list. And then it's like the refs just were like telling people that they can't use it. It's like the communication came out after all that happened. So that's like kind of like a shitty part. But I don't know whose job that is. Like, is it USA Pickleballs? Is it the US Open? right? Like I feel like the US Open should have sent out like a text, because they text you about the daily press and everything else. It should have been like all carbon paddles like are banned for, the tournament from here on. And that never happened. So I think there was like kind of confusion. And then, the pros like that were playing with them had to just switch to a different paddle, which, apparently Michelle Esquivel's paddle that they tested, hers passed. But I guess they had tested others at other tournaments, and then I don't know.
Yeah. So I guess to back it up, so everybody's on the same page, USA Pickleball tests paddles. There's certain requirements. They do this for every company out there. You'll see a USA Pickleball logo on most of your paddles that says it's approved. Carbon went through that process, and they did pass. And I guess if enough people complain or there's enough buzz, which John, I don't know if you played with a carbon paddle, but does have pretty good spin on it. I've hit a few balls with it. They'll do a random test to make sure there's no quote unquote manufacturing drift from those paddles that originally passed. So that's what happened here. And what I find really fascinating about this whole thing is this little device. It's, like a 3-inch device. You lay it down on the paddle. You have to do the test 6 times in different directions because it's very sensitive. But it can come up with a pass one time and a fail the next time. And I guess you do an average over your 6 times. And if the average is there, you're good. But still, it seems very finicky and very interesting. And I'm no manufacturing expert, so I don't have the expertise to really weigh in on the test, but it was just surprising to me. I don't think I appreciated how that really works.
Yeah. And then the Yola president came out and did it on his own paddle or whatever. Because that video came out of whoever it was with that tester doing a Yola paddle on a chair or something, and was like, oh, this wouldn't pass. You don't want to keep testing. So that, of course, added so much fuel to the fire. And then that's what started the whole conspiracy about Ben Johns. Like, he lost a carbon. So now that, he's going to like protest basically carbon paddles. I don't know how much that's true. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But they definitely need to come up with a better process, I think. I don't know. I have some ideas. I put my idea in the kitchen, the pickleball kitchen.
What was your idea?
Did you see it?
I don't know if I saw your idea. Was it a sarcastic idea? Or was it a legitimate
No, it was actually
idea?
A good idea. I'm usually a little more trolly on the interwebs, but no, it was a good idea, I think. So in racing, what we do, there's 2 different ways to, and by racing I mean motorsports. So I race cars, and we have to do technical inspections, and there could be protests as well. So what happens is, if you finish in the top 3 of a race, you're automatically going to a technical impound. So you and the car go, and you always get weighed, because we have to be like a certain weight. And so you do that first, and then you like pull into the garage, and you get out of the car, and then you have to like pop the engine, the hood, pop the trunk, whatever. And these inspectors can basically ask for anything on the car to be checked, right?
Okay.
So, at big events, so say like a US Open, right? But for racing, or nationals, if you get in the top 3, your car goes home in a box, because they check down to like everything. So, and basically, like, if you pass, great, like you win, whatever. But your car goes home in a box, and you have to put it all back together. But it's like it's to prevent cheating. And then so there's that thing that can work, right? So in pickleball, you can have the top, the podium finishers, plus maybe the 4th place team. They have their paddles impounded, right? And they can do that little stare it, check, star it, whatever it is. And or they can check the length, the width, whatever. They can check anything they want. And then that way, the top players are always getting checked. The top players are always, their paddles are always legit, because you're foolish if you think that like a pro's paddle is not any different than like Joe Schmo's. I mean, I'm not saying it does happen, but it could easily happen, especially now with more money. Because the same thing happens in racing. You know, I can go to my engine builder and be like, "Hey, I need 5 more horsepower. I don't care how you find it, get me that." You know, so eventually when more money comes in, certain pros can be like, "Hey, I need more grit on my paddle, or I want my dimensions to be a little over the limit, you know, in terms of width and length, or I want the core to be different, whatever." So maybe the core doesn't actually match what was tested and approved, right? So there's so many things that can happen. And then so you check those 3, and then if they fail, then they like basically lose out on prize money, right? They lose out prize money, they lose their position. Whoever's the next in line gets bumped up, right? So say that that's the gold team. Silver moves up, bronze moves up, fourth moves up, right? Um, and then what sucks is that should take away from your partner as well. So like your partner should get screwed as well if it's doubles. Um, and then the other thing is there's protests. So let's say you and I are racing, Stacie, and you think that my car is cheated up for whatever reason. I'm not running the right restrictor plate, whatever. You can basically, and we can be in like fighting for last place. I can be like, or you can say, "John, your car's cheated. I'm going to protest it." And you go to like the governing body, if it's like PPA, APP, USA Pickleball, whatever, and you're like, I want to put up money. And that's what we do. We basically put up like a labor amount of what it would be to rebuild it. So it's like, you know, if you think something might small is cheat up, say it's $100, right? If it's like, I want you to take apart that entire engine, that's like $5,000, you know? So then what happens is you have to say exactly what's wrong with it. So I'll be like, or you could say your restrictor plate is too big by like, however, you know, it's just too wide. So they go and they check it, say it's wrong, right? Like it's failed. So you're right. You get your money back. And then I get like failed, DQ'd, right? So you get your money back. If you're wrong, I get your money minus a fee to like, you know, the person doing the test.
Labor, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that's one. And then the same kind of penalty would apply. You know, if they pay down to like fifth, I feel like there's something wrong with that fifth person's paddle. I want to be like, okay, here's $200 to replace your paddle when they take it apart, right? I put in my $200. They test it right there on the spot. That's my solution going forward.
No, I like it. I have a couple follow-up questions for you.
Okay.
Do you think the manufacturers of the paddles should also be penalized? So if I'm playing with an Engage paddle and I fail, should Engage also have skin in the game or no?
Well, so the higher up in level in like pro racing, right? If I'm going to keep using pro, I believe like the pro teams, like a NASCAR team, would also get fined, right? So like the driver would get penalized, the team would get penalized. But in like the racing that I do is like pretty high level amateur, kind of like borderline semi pro, I would say. The person that like builds your engine, you can't always hold them accountable too, right? Because what if I went in after they built it and I changed something, right? So it's like, what if um Ben Johns is putting something on his paddle? Should Yola be held accountable for that? I don't know.
But what if you turned it around and said, you know, Ben Johns is using Yola, he didn't do anything other than add lead tape. Should he now be losing money for what he thought was a good paddle?
Well, so what I think it does is if one paddle keeps failing, that's just a bad image on the company, right? Like, okay, they don't have good quality control. They're putting out cheated paddles. So then pros aren't going to want to sign with them, right? Because pros are going to be like, yo, this is my living. Like, if you're making paddles that aren't of good quality and they don't meet all of the requirements and you can't get like your batches under control, Like, I don't want to keep losing out my prize money because you can't make a paddle.
Yeah.
So, and then, you have all the amateurs too that are like, oh, well, shoot, everyone that has a carbon probably has a cheated paddle. I'm just using carbon as an example. I'm not saying all of them are, but if like one paddle company just keeps failing, it's like, okay, the market decides, right? So that's almost a penalty by itself.
Something else for these pros to negotiate if this actually comes to fruition is if they lose out on their prize money, the manufacturer's got to pay up. That's going to be a new contract clause for you.
Yeah, there you go. Or yeah. I'd be interested to see, like, now I don't know this to be true at all. I'm just speculating here. But I would be curious if, like, just say Ben, I'm not picking on Ben here, but say Ben Johns was like, okay, that's the paddle that you got approved. I want one with a slightly different core. How often do they check cores of paddles? Like at tournaments, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm not good enough to have my core of my paddle checked all the time, right? But how often do they check that?
No, I think it's a great idea because I do think it's, it's expensive to maybe, the common player, $200 for a paddle, but for the pros that are getting them for free and the manufacturers that are making them, they're not $200 to them, right? Like they have pretty good profit margins on these. So for you to say you're going to play a tournament and your paddle's going to get impounded and you're going to have all these tests and maybe it comes back in half because they cut it in half to check the core or whatever they do, it's not terribly high cost relative to maybe the integrity of the sport going forward, especially as it grows. Maybe we're not there yet, as you said, but as the numbers get bigger and the prize money gets bigger, there's more on the line. So protects the integrity of sport, just like drug testing, right?
Yeah, and that'll come at some point too. I think when betting gets in the game, that'll I don't know if like they're these organizations are gonna have to partner with USADA. If you know what USADA is, Stace, I'm sure you do. Does USADA do the NCAA testing, or are they different entities?
I'm not sure. I know I was drug tested at some point in my career, but I couldn't tell you what.
I was drug tested every single time because I was diagnosed ADHD and I had Adderall.
Oh,
so
funny.
They're like, oh well, he's already doing drugs legally, so we're gonna test him for everything else. So I got every single one.
I guess as a threshold question, John, I think I can assume your answer, but you do think there should be regulations around paddles from like a baseline.
Yeah. And then, maybe you have a threshold because like you have to have a threshold to, if there's variances in or tolerances in the machine that's actually testing it. Like I think the Yola owner hinted at that there's like a what scientific word am I thinking of? Like error, like what
margin of error. I don't know. I thought variances worked. I thought that was a good word.
The margin of error, like does the machine have a margin of error, right? So like that has to be added into the tolerance, I think. If it needs to be 0.40 millimeters or whatever, and there's a 0.05 margin of error, then it needs to be 0.45 and not over. Right. So.
Yeah, I was very surprised by that test that I saw that clip that you're referring to where he did 6 tests. And if you looked at the numbers at the end of this, minute long video.
And his math was wrong.
Oh, I didn't get that part. But 3 of them were like barely passed or whatever. And 3 were failed. And I was like, oh my goodness, is this really how it's done? I was surprised.
Yeah. I'm not a material engineer or whatever, but it's pretty cool because it measures. Well, there's 2 different measurements that it has to meet, right? There's the average and then there's a peak. So it's like the average peak can't be like a certain height or whatever. And then it's like the total surface, right? Or I don't know. I'm making shit up now. Sorry.
Well, it's going to have to get more sophisticated. So, the rules around paddles are you refer to dimensions. So you can only have 24 inches length plus width. That's one. I don't know if there's a width, like a depth of like the width of the paddle. I don't know if there's anything on that. There's no rule on weight. There's a rule on the grit or the surface roughness, which is what the CRBN and Yola videos are all about. But I imagine there's like grit is in terms of what you're talking about, peaks and valleys, like sandpaper, you know, how like that grit. But what about like the paint on the paddle? Like I'm sure different types of textures. Like I can imagine grip the ball better too. Like I don't know if there's a test for that. But I think paddle manufacturers, they obviously want to sell a bunch of paddles. So they're going to push the margin or push the envelope and try and come up with new things to have all those features of more power, more spin while staying within the confines of the rules. And USA Pickleball has to figure out a way to, you know, evolve the rules with these paddle manufacturers. Because I do think it's important to have some bounds with the paddle to protect the growth of the game. I think that as a beginner, if I just jumped on the court and somebody's doing all this crazy spin and having this crazy power, I think you can be maybe turned off by the sport. Because I think one of the best things about the sport is you can jump on the court and have a rally immediately. So you need to make sure the equipment doesn't take away from that. I wrote, I don't know if you read it, but I wrote an article about the history of racquetball on the Pickler website and how the equipment technology kind of hampered the game. It made it so much faster and people were turned off, even though racquetball in its heyday was, I don't know, 3 times bigger than pickleball is today and touted that fastest growing sport title. But I think there probably was some missteps in the equipment that pickleball can learn from.
I got to go back and read it. I didn't read it, Stace. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, that's a homework assignment to you and everybody listening.
Stacie,
head over to Pickler.
I'll give you credit. There was somebody that came up to me, and I'm sorry, they listened to us. I forget their name. That said that they liked that I was one of the podcast guys on the Pickler, and she said that she loves the articles I write. Which I don't write one article.
Did you take credit? Did you take the credit?
No, I think I didn't the first time. I was like, oh yeah, Stacie writes that, whatever. And then Frank, right?
And Frank, yes. Big shout out to Frank. He's probably the one that she's referring to with all the great articles.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then she's like, I just love all the articles you write. I was like, thanks.
Yeah. Well, you can only find them at thepickler.com, but
yeah.
That's awesome. I did want to ask you one more question on the paddles. Do you think there should be a weight limitation? So right now, again, there's no weight. You can load it up as heavy as you want.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean, obviously it affects your power, but then if it's too heavy, you're going to be slow, right? Yeah. Especially if you're playing the Matt Wrights of the world.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It definitely slows your hands down if it's too heavy. Or like Sarah Ansbury plays with like a 10-ounce paddle. I don't know. I feel like JW plays with a heavy paddle too, does he?
Well, I think it's a pretty relatively new phenomenon. All the pros basically weight their paddle. I don't know if they did that 3 years ago, say.
Yeah, I would say I would think like it started probably like 4 years ago. Like they started weighting them up. I could be wrong.
It does play different. If anybody hasn't tried it yet, I would encourage you to play around with a little bit of lead tape.
Oh yeah, you got to put lead tape on your paddle. It changes the way the paddle feels so much. So for people that have never weighted it up, if you want like more of a ground stroke to like feel the ground stroke, you put more weight on the head of the paddle so that it swings through fast or stronger. And then if you want like more control on your volleys, dinks, put the weight on the side of the paddle and then like closer to the throat of the paddle. If you're not doing that, you need to do that. Just get the lead tape. Was it like a 1/4 inch or something like that? And then put electrical tape on top of it. Fun fact, 1 strip of electrical tape all around the paddle is 0.1 ounce. So fun fact.
Does it matter what color the electrical tape is or applies to all colors?
I don't know. Right now I'm using pink and I just weighed it on my weight scale and it's 0.1.
Good fact to know.
Yeah. It could be the white is maybe like 0.8 or 0.08 or something. I don't know. But so that was you actually brought up something, and I thought about it. If paddle companies have the technology to like put the grit, the peaks and valleys a certain direction, I don't know. I'm an idiot when it comes to this stuff, but like if they could put the grit to face a certain direction, so that like if you hit a ground stroke, it grabs the ball better. You know what I mean? Then I guess I don't know if it would mess up your other shots. I don't know, but if you know what I'm talking about. I'd be interested to see that. So it's like maybe that's how when you tested it, like a 0.48 millimeter, and then the other direction was like 0.3. That was like huge variances. So I wonder if maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know.
Maybe
I'm not smart. I'm too pretty to know all the details. I'm not. No, I'm not the nerd.
Maybe we should. I think we should get a paddle manufacturer on here. They can tell us whether we're right or wrong on all of our theories.
I think we should.
I do really like your testing theory, John. I think we can certainly learn from other sports. I mean, this problem isn't unique to pickleball. So looking to other people that have figured it out, when I think racing is a great example. We'll see I know PPA is committed to testing. They made a statement, so it'll be interesting to see what they start with, and I'm sure it will evolve.
At the end of the day, and as bad as it sounds, there's always going to be, and I'm not picking anybody out specifically, there's always going to be companies that want to push the limit too far to make the best product, And then on the same other hand, there's going to be players that are either going to push the paddle company to do it, or they're going to do it themselves. And I don't know if those players exist out there now, but as the money comes, there will be. I mean, I love Tom Brady. I think the Deflategate was BS. But if you know about the Deflategate, the balls were too light. If he did that on purpose, I don't know. But, you see where I'm getting at. Like, players will do whatever it takes to win. And some will push that limit, and so will the manufacturers. So at some point, you got to create a process that does not allow for that to happen. And that's my spiel on that.
If you want expert advice on testing, go to John the People's Champ Davison.
I can't tell you how to test things. Like our podcast Nick producer was probably laughing in the background because like I'm just a driver, like I don't like I don't do any of the mechanical work on my car. I just show up, I look pretty, I get in the car and I drive it fast. That's the goal. And when someone's like, if someone wants to protest my car, right? And they're like, John, can you take the whatever, restrictor plate off? I'm like, yo, Stacie, can you help me out over here? So don't ask me to do the testing. Just, I have a process. That's all.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to talk about on this paddle drama or the US Open? Anything else you want to hit on?
I will say that it's interesting that all of the people that were playing with carbon, they went to a certain type of paddle. So they either went to the Engage, the Electrum, or the Yola. And I think one person went with a Franklin at some point. I don't remember who, but I think it was DJ Young. He played with a Franklin at first, and then now he's playing with the Yola. But then in the interview, he picks up the carbon. And then the same for like I believe Paris Todd and others. But so I think that type of paddle is the superior product right now.
And describe that type of paddle.
Well, it's that, it's like very powerful. It's very gritty. It's the black face with very minimal paint on it. They're very simple. Again, I'm not a materials expert, but obviously they're built different. I don't know. That seems to just be what everyone wants. I'm sure if Onyx or Paddletech or whoever, Selkirk made that paddle, Then I don't know how Selkirk's new paddle is like it. I've never played with it. I've heard people like it, so I think Brandon likes it, the one with the hole in
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
But I don't know how it plays because I've just never hit with it.
I've hit with it a couple times. It is pretty powerful and pretty gritty.
Yeah.
It's got, yeah. I would try one if I were you.
Okay. Well, Selkirk needs to send me one.
Yeah. Shout out to Selkirk.
We are on Selkirk TV, so.
That's right. I know. I'm excited to see how their Selkirk Labs continues to develop because I'm sure they're going to continue to come out with cool stuff. That paddle that they came out with is totally different than their, I guess, original line.
Yeah.
Both with the whole, obviously the open throat concept and just like how it's made. It sounds totally different. So it's definitely interesting what they got going over there.
Yeah. Hey, I like it. Keep pushing the issue. It's just keeping the paddle companies in line with the rules. But in racing, we try to push gray areas. And that's what the paddle companies will do, I'm sure, until those gray areas become black and white. So, yeah.
Well, while we're on this racing topic, I haven't really talked about this next topic or theory that I'm going to raise, but I am all of a sudden a huge fan of Formula One on Netflix. The Drive to Survive series, I think, is really good. I'm loving the stories, and I never watched Formula One race in my whole life, but I'm like totally invested in the show. And one thing that I'm thinking about is this Formula One. They have 10 teams, 20 drivers. I'm telling you all the things you already know. They do like 21 races. To me, this sounds very similar or kind of similar to like the PPA model. I'm going to have 20 or 30 signed players. I'm going to go around the country doing the same tournaments. I'm curious if that's like a little bit of their model, like, show off these pros, have a small, they don't care about having a huge event, have like these really good pros do it at a top notch level and kind of emulate it that way. But I do see a lot of parallels. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I don't know. I think, I don't know if they're the same in the fact because I get what you're getting at, where you have like signed players, right? And then, they have their 10, 15 on each side, men and women. And they try to control like the best players, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Formula One is just so unique to itself, right? Like if you have to have a lot of money to get there.
Mm-hmm.
All those guys are good. All those guys are world karting champions. They race in Formula 3, Formula 2, most likely won Formula 2 championships, and they need money to get there. And it's really, I don't even think it's so much Formula 1 as much as it is, like, it's not so much the Formula 1 org as much as it is the sponsors of the teams. Like, they control the show, you know.
Well,
So,
that was, I guess, one thing I was thinking about is if you go back, I don't know if everybody listening, if you listen to our Ben Shields conversation, which if you haven't, you have to go back and listen. It's like the best conversation that I've heard around the sport in a while. But one thing he talked about was teams. And that's another thing I thought was really cool with Formula One. And this is me, a total novice to the whole organization and game, that even though they have the drivers, they still have this team concept, which makes me think the MLP idea is Major League Pickleball is great because they incorporate this team. And then they have like their home races where they go and they have like the home fan base, which I know MLP is doing 3 events this year. So maybe they'll eventually grow to have an event for every team on their home court.
that would be cool, actually. That's a cool idea.
But yeah, just some things I've been thinking about and trying to figure out where pickleball could go or where we could pull inspiration from.
See, like, I don't know if it's so much like, I still like the MMA comparison, with the UFC, Bellator, one, like, I think you have the 2 tours. They have loyal players at APP. None of them are signed, but they get, if you're making the top 10 or whatever, you get paid or stipend or whatever. And then the PPA players, obviously, they have deals, and I'm sure they're very different to each player. Like, I'm sure Ben's is much different than anybody else's. But I feel like it's more like now it's more like the UFC and Bellator. I feel like just two competing organizations. They want the players, the fighters. And it's like, the UFC signs people, Bellator signs people, and they never cross promote. I don't know. I see where you get to. I think like on a productions, I don't know. I don't see it like Formula One, I guess. But I see where you're getting at.
Yeah.
Because
I need to watch more of the Formula One Drive to Survive series to really put my thoughts together on it. But I am seeing some things I see similar, I guess.
Yeah, it's not so. I guess I never thought about it, so maybe I would need to think about it. But it's not so much F1, the organization, that's really picking these drivers. It's.
Oh yeah.
It's. I mean, I don't know what season you're on, but it's like, you have certain drivers where they bring like Sergio Perez, right? He is the only Mexican driver, and he brings with him a very large Mexican sponsor, right? Who is willing to pay anything to make sure that he's in a car, versus like another guy that still has good sponsors and brings good money, but is not going to have that level of money to pay the engineers, the truck drivers, the crew team, everybody, because these people, these organizations have like hundreds and thousands of employees. So the guy that's going to end up on top is the one that brings the most money. So it's like, I don't know. I guess that's where I see it different. Is that you would think that the PPA is trying to get all the best talent, right, and put them on contracts, but the F1 it's not the F1 doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's the teams themselves.
No, that makes sense. I guess I meant more in terms of the event structure. And I guess I was also surprised that Formula One only has 20 cars racing.
So I believe it's Andretti, which I'm sure you've heard of Andretti. Mario Andretti, IndyCar racer. And there was some other Andrettis too in the family that have raced. But they race a lot of IndyCar, and they're trying to get into Formula One. And what's actually stupid, just to show you how much money Formula One is, for them to get into Formula One, to just buy a team, so 2 cars, they have to pay out $200 million split over the other teams, just so that they like get a benefit over their loss of revenue. Does that make sense?
Wow.
So it's like, oh, well, we have another team, and that team is going to get a portion of what we're getting now. So we demand that you pay us each, $10 million.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like for future revenue loss. So, Andretti was like, oops, can you still hear me? No.
Technical difficulties.
I think I messed something up. Can you hear me?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
You're a little softer than you were, but you're still on.
Oh, I know it.
There we go.
Do I sound better now?
You're back. Yeah, much better.
I have my little controller here in my lap, and I touched it. But yeah, it's just like that. Just shows you like it's not even really organization. It's just the teams and sponsors that are running that whole show. So I guess that's why I don't really see it the same. I don't know. That's my take.
Yeah.
I see more MMA. Yeah.
I haven't got into. I need a Netflix series to get into that
one. Just go to one event, you'll be hooked.
All right.
Yeah, you'll be hooked. Yeah. What else?
So you want to talk about the next tournament in our little gap from our last episode here? I guess there was the St. Louis Open for the APP, but also the PPA North Carolina Open. which I know you and I have talked before about how much we love Ryan Sherry and his interview. Do you want to give a rundown on what happened there?
Oh my gosh. So we're going to have to figure out, I don't know if we can do this or not, how to put the clip in, like just cut me right here, put that clip in, and then we'll come back.
With Ryan Sherry, what an electric final or semifinal. We just saw it. You're through to Championship Sunday, but talk about how your game matched up against Frank Anthony Davis.
I mean, Frank's one of the toughest guys out there. He makes you, work for everything. He's one of my closest friends. So, you saw us at the end kind of both embrace. It's kind of emotional, both of us. But, I'm excited. First Championship Sunday, PPA. I'm pumped. It doesn't get any bigger than this.
Well, talking about that, this is your first final. What do you think your chances are to take the title?
No, I mean, it's a coin flip, I mean, it's always, I don't know who I'm going to play, but whoever it is, I mean, I think it'll be, I got 3 days to prepare. I don't usually get 3 days to prepare. Most people get me towards the end of the day when I'm tired. So 3 days to prepare, I think I can beat anybody.
Well, talking about that, you have some very unorthodox training style that fuels your game. How hard is it to live the way that you do and also play pro pickleball?
This week was honestly the toughest I've had. I thought Super Bowl was tough, finishing 5th in Arizona after Super Bowl week, but this week NFL draft in Vegas, literally got out there. My partner and I closed a big business deal on Thursday, so I partied hard Wednesday night, got there Thursday, went to Dana White's party, got to meet him, hang out with him Thursday night, went to the baby, we had seats on the floor. Friday, Gronk Beach. The Gronkowskis have become close friends of mine who actually they're trying to get into pickleball. So we got Ice Shaker is going to get involved in, all Gronk and Gordy and Rob. And so we did his beach party all day Friday. Friday night ended up going to Nate Diaz, UFC big-time fighter. Him and Rob had a party. Saturday did a pool party. We had Rick Ross's table. So, it's just, it's tough. Sunday, though, the good thing was I woke up Sunday and my good friend Paris Todd told me to get to Newport. She put me on a detox program. So I went on a 2-day model detox program thanks to fashionista Paris Todd. And I'm going to give her a little credit because she got me out of Vegas.
Well, and got you in good shape to play this singles day. Congratulations, Ryan Sherry. You're into the final.
Always a pleasure.
Ryan Sherry, right now, you are so happy. This is your first PPA title. How good does this feel?
Feels really good. Excited to be out here. Great crowd in Charlotte. First time here. Hopefully I get a chance to go out tonight, have a good time. Hopefully downtown's as fun as I think it is. And just, like I say, happy to be here. Of course, thank all the sponsors, especially my boys Duper that didn't draft me in the MLP. Hope this is enough for you guys. Hope I'm good enough to be an alternate. Casamigos, if you're out here listening, I was drinking your stuff all week in Vegas. Come on, baby, throw me some cases.
6 shirt changes throughout this match. Anything to add to that?
No, it's just one of those things. Like I said, I was coming off a long week NFL draft and Vegas, and sweaty. It's tough even though it's indoors, but I play a lot indoors, so being 30 pounds overweight, it definitely helps.
Well, a couple of foot faults called on you, including on the serve. How do you mentally refocus after that happens when you've just won the point in your head?
Yeah, to be honest, I think they were all legit foot fault calls. I'm not even arguing. I just kind of talked to the refs just so I could stall and catch my breath. Gentleman over there tried to help me by getting the ball. I'm like, just leave it. Let me breathe.
All right, well, big congratulations, Sherry. I'm so happy for you to have done this finally. I know how much you wanted it. We're going to bring Connor Ogden on court now to present that trophy to you. One more thing from you.
And there's a guy back home who's big in our tennis community who's actually good friends with your brother, Jay Webb. He's in intensive care for heart complications, Florida Gulf Coast Tennis. So I just want to give him a shout out and hopefully a speedy recovery.
Connor?
Ryan, the man, the myth, the legend, congratulations on your first PPA title. I think we could all listen to you interview all day. So we love having you out here, man. You've earned every bit of this. Congratulations. And on behalf of the PPA and Invisalign, we'd like to present you with your trophy. Congratulations, and go Gators.
Give him a hand.
But like he talks about Ryan Sherry is just known as a partier. So it's like if you go to his Instagram and you follow Ryan Sherry on Instagram, he's got stories with him partying with Gronk and, Dana White, the, president of UFC, Nate Diaz, like a real famous UFC fighters, like partying with NFL players and all these famous people. And the dude is he goes 11 out of 10 every single day. I don't know how he does it, but he's a beast on the court at the same time. And he played at Florida. And I don't know if he played number 1 or not, but he was a very high level tennis player. And so now, he plays pretty much just singles only. And he took down Julian Arnold at the PPA on Championship Sunday in 5 sets. I watched that match. It was actually really good. Him and Julian Arnold, it could have gone either way. All the matches were close, or the game. I didn't think I saw the 5th game, but all the games leading up to that were close. And then his interview after, he's like, man, he's like breathing heavy. He's like, I've been in Vegas, party with Nate Diaz, Dana White. I was at Rick Ross's table on Saturday. He's like just dead, and yet he's still like winning, and he like thanked Casamigo. He wanted Casamigos to send him some cases. Gosh, that dude is just hilarious. We need a Ryan Sherry interview in every single tournament. It would just be great.
He was amazing. I think I really appreciated, first of all, like some different faces. It was totally interesting, and both of them are really get pumped up kind of players. So that was really fun to watch. And I think Ryan Sherry's so relatable. Like, I think he's 38. He self-professed that he's 30 pounds overweight, going around playing pickleball. But he moves great. He played great. Yep. But that's like the great thing about pickleball, right? Like, you can just be a former softball athlete, a former soccer athlete, past our quote unquote prime athletic days, maybe, and just goes out and takes a gold medal at one of the top events. And so relatable is the biggest takeaway for me.
Oh yeah. No, he is hilarious. I think I've met him. I haven't talked to him more than like a minute, but he's a real funny dude, it seems. Dude parties hard but works hard too. So he's like the definition of it. I want to party with him just once. I think once is all I can handle, but that's my goal. So I doubt Ryan Sherry's listening right now, but if he is, let's party.
I don't even know if I can handle just once. I follow him on Instagram, and it is another level.
My favorite thing is that after like that night, it looked like he was at a gentleman's club, and he had a stack of ones, and he's like putting that prize money to good use. And it was just this stack of ones like this big, and I'm like, dude, that's just hilarious.
Yeah, definitely the takeaway. I think the other takeaways over the last few weekends are Catherine Parental has had quite a run. I think she took double gold at the Open and then triple crown at North Carolina. Ben took the triple crown at the U.S. Open. Riley has been on a hot streak. He got 2 golds this past weekend in North Carolina. On the APP side, Zane's back on top for singles, playing really strong. I think he got a silver in doubles too.
Kyle Yates, the GOAT, back on top.
Kyle Yates back on top with Andre Deskew. Andrew Coop killing it as usual. Very steady Eddie over there. So some good runs, and it'll be interesting to see. I know the Waters took a couple weekends off to get some rest and regroup for a busy rest of the year. So it'll be interesting to see them back in the mix and how they will do maybe against the Catherine and Leia. They seem to be playing a little better. I know they played a few weeks ago, weeks ago. They had a matchup, I think, in Catherine and Leia's first tournament. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up. But it's going to be a very busy rest of the year for these pros.
Yeah, especially with the MLP, and then they have the Tuesday night in America thing. And then PPA is coming out with their Tuesday night thing. So that's interesting. But, I was thinking about it. I was like, why would they pick the same night? But really, that's the only night that they can really pick, unless you did a Monday night. Because by Wednesday, they're already going to their next tournament. And then they're likely coming home on Sunday night or Monday. Right? So Tuesday is really the only night that either org can put something on. So it'll be interesting to see the back and forth. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
No, I think you're already starting, or we already saw it last weekend. There was an APP and PPA, which fell on the same weekend. So you had competing streams. I think you're referencing Tuesday night MLP, which is aligned with the APP, and this the Orchard for Jigsaw Health for the Tuesday night is a PPA. So it'll be interesting to see if the pickleball population will sustain both, if they'll have two screens up, watching and supporting both. Maybe
a lot of people do. Like I got to give a shout out to my host at Naples, John Anasopoulos. I don't know how to say his name. He's Greek. And his wife Paula. They were so nice. We stayed with them the whole week. We never felt unwelcome at all. They were really nice people, and they are pickleball holics. They watch both. At the same time. Just like you said, there's so many of those people out there that will have like the laptop on one, the phone on the other, or the TV on normal TV, whatever. So I'm sure you'll get plenty of people that are watching both at the same time. I know when Olivia and I were in the airport on the way back from Mexico, we had both. We had the Ryan Sherry up, and then we had the Zane. I think it was Kyle versus Zane up on both screens. We were at the bar at the airport, and we had both of our phones watching. So we have there's definitely a lot of people that watch both. But
no, I'm definitely one of them. I think that's the whole premise of Selkirk TV, which hopefully some folks are watching on, but they say people can't, there's a group of pickleball players that just can't get enough, right? And you just consume so much, they want more and more. So those are definitely the people that the APP and PPA want to keep a hold of.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and now, you have a lot more podcasts, you have a lot more YouTube personalities or whatever, which is all good. We just got monetized. Thank you, everyone. We just got to the magic number of 1,000 subscribers. So we appreciate everyone that subscribes, and please tell your friends. But yeah, there's plenty of people that are getting in because, like you said, just people just want to listen to everything pickleball. Like I even listen to the other podcasts, that could go on, the Dink. And then I like Rob Nunnery. I think he's a cool dude. So I like the Freestyle Boys. So he's back now without Ben and with Casey Patterson. They've got a pretty cool thing going on. And Tyson's, there's a lot of good stuff on YouTube right now, and there'll just keep being more stuff. But the Pickler should always be number one.
That's right, John. Yeah. Way to bring it back.
Yeah. I gotta circle it back, But it's good stuff. I mean, there's so much content, and people just want it. So we're here to give it to you.
Well, there's one person that doesn't want it.
Who's that?
And I don't know if you heard this story, but a tennis great, and I may mess up the last name, Martina Navratilova.
Yeah, whatever.
Is not happy with us pickleball players taking over the tennis courts. And she said, if pickleball is so popular, they can go build their own courts instead of taking over the tennis courts.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
People aren't playing tennis anymore. So I don't know what to tell you. I mean, there's people playing tennis, but it makes a lot of sense for clubs to convert to pickleball, because when you think that you can only have 4 people on a tennis court at a max, but on that same court, you can put 4 pickleball courts and have 16 people playing at one time. And that's what happens. You see all the videos. It's like, oh, here's the tennis courts with nobody playing. And then it's like 400 people playing on like 10 courts of pickleball. And it's just, it's just a lifelong tennis player,
Well, I think we just have a demand problem right now, right? Like the sport's growing so fast.
Too fast for the infrastructure.
That's right. So what's the easiest low-hanging fruit rather than trying to allocate new land and build courts from scratch when you can just repaint or resurface a tennis court?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure all the clubs too love it because they're getting so many more people, I mean, it's better on older people's bodies too. I feel like, you talk to like any older person that like played tennis for a while, they're like, gosh, it's so nice. I don't have to cover a whole court anymore, So she can.
But even for younger people, to your point about how social it is, if you're in college, would you rather go out and play some pickleball and drink some White Claws with your buddies, or go play tennis with one friend, or a couple friends,
and then only be able to hit like 2 balls before you like sky it over the fence?
That's right.
Well, yeah. So like I was talking about my gripes with Jarbo Park where I play at earlier, but you'd be so shocked. you would not think it's like an old person sport, because at Jarbo, it is like the average age is under 30, or like definitely under 40 that go out there.
Mm-hmm.
I see kids, that I went to college with 10 years ago, and now they're finding the sport, and they're out there like with other buddies, talking shit and stuff, and like, oh, I'm like undefeated today, man. I'm like 3-0. Like I heard that tonight from this kid that I know, and he's like been playing for a month, and like all of his buddies are out there, and they just get like, they got the music, they got 20 people for 2 courts, they're talking trash, like it's blowing up even in the younger generation. It's so much better than tennis for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
But she can just kick rocks. That's all I gotta say.
Or pickleballs.
Yeah. But
so what do you have looking forward to the future? What do we have going?
Well, I will be at Cincinnati this weekend. I don't know whenever we get this thing posted if this will be up before then, but I'm gonna be commentating at the APP Cincinnati Open just Saturday and Sunday, because I've been taking off way too many days of work this month. A week at Naples, a week in Cabo. I'm going to...
Oh, rough life.
I know, tough. And then, so Cincinnati, and then a weekend off, thank God. And then the next week, I'll be commentating for the New York City Open with APP. So really excited for that. I think I'll be on the second court most of the time. So they'll have 2 courts streaming, but it's at the Arthur Ashe Stadium, where the Tennis US Open is. And then I'll stay a couple days after, because it's Olivia's birthday. So we actually just bought our Broadway tickets for Phantom of the Opera.
It's not a secret, is it?
No. I was like, oh, good catch. I might need to cut that out.
Just making sure it wasn't a surprise.
You startled me for a second. I was like, I was texting podcast Nick. I was like, because he's a big Broadway play guy. I was like, okay, what do I pick? Do I pick Chicago or Phantom of the Opera? But I found like these are like really good seats for Phantom of the Opera. So that's what we're going to do. And then right after that, I'm going to go to MLP and hang out and watch some pickleball. I don't know if I'm going to be commentating or not, but that'd be cool. I would very much like to do that. So yeah, big things in the next couple weeks.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear your perspective on the New York City Open. It's obviously, going to be a marquee event. Martina Navratilova is probably going to be really upset to hear that pickleball is going to the U.S. Open or Flushing Meadows, but I guess she'll have to kick pickleballs, as you said.
Yep.
And then the MLP, they're back. The event of the year last year will be exciting. So two big events.
Back to back.
They're back to back. It's going to be a really great couple of weeks coming up.
Yeah, and the New York City Open will have the MLP draft party. So that'll be cool to get all dressed up. A lot of pickleball pros, like some of y'all need some help in dressing up, because some of y'all just look like a mess. But, be getting dressed up and go to that. That should be a good time. Hopefully they have some adult beverages there.
I'm sure. I think they might have a few alcohol sponsors from what I've been seeing on social media.
Stacie, well,
so
you need
maybe
to
you'll get lucky.
You and I need to talk to some of these people.
I know. So I'm going to give you another homework assignment.
Okay.
Start giving your number out to those folks.
Hey, that's fine. But yeah, it's a super cool event. 2 cool events back to back. It'll be a fun couple weeks. Maybe play some pickleball too. We'll see.
Or drill, or you could drill.
No. I'm not. But yeah, it'll be fun. I'm excited for the draft too. I think that'll be pretty cool. That'd be cool to see.
Definitely.
But I don't know what else is on our list to talk about, Stacie.
I think this is great. I think this might be a good time to shut it down. Cheers us out. And I think that I'm sure we're going to be talking before these events. Hope maybe we can get a couple interesting guests on. Maybe it's Ryan Sherry, maybe Podcast Nick. We have some options.
We do have some options. We do have some
And
love.
yeah, until next time, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Head on over to thepickler.com, read those blogs and articles that John's getting all the credit for out on the courts. Sign up for the free newsletter to help learn to play better pickleball. And support John as he is on the broadcast mic again. Make sure you listen in, tune in, and give him some love.
I appreciate that, Stacie. And you know what we always have to do when we sign out? You know, I don't have my Pickler cup. Actually, I do. They're both empty. So I'll cheers my Pickler cup. So as always, Stace, Pickler out.